This video is based on coordinate geometry of the line, and it's all based around worksheet number 1, which is focusing on coordinate plane. So the coordinate plane is something that we've seen already before in junior cycle maths, so I'm hoping that it'll be nice and easy and nothing too strenuous as we're trying to get back into maths. So the coordinate plane is basically just like a cross, and the x-axis is what goes along the road or the straight line across the page, and the y-axis is along the wall or the line that goes from the top of the page to the bottom of the page. Making sure that every time you draw one, you label it x or y. Now, for reading a point or plotting a point, the first thing you need to remember is to go along the road and then along the wall. So of course you can go to the right and down, you could go to the left and down, you could go to the left and up, and of course the one we did at the very start, you could go to the right and up. Now, so the best way to get examples of how to write coordinates and how to plot coordinates is just to do a few examples. So I'm just going to zoom in here so that it's a bit easier to see. So example number 1 says, write the coordinates of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. So we're going to start with A. Now remember that the first thing you do is you go along the road. So the road here goes out to from 0 towards 6 and onwards on the x-axis. Now x is here, so where we're going is we're going along 1, and then we're going down 3, so it's minus 3. The next point we have then B, and if you can see, B is here. B, we're going along the road to the left, and we're going along minus 1, and then we're going up the wall, and we're going up 1. Now the next point we have is C, and you can see that C is here, and for C we are going along the road minus 4 and down the road minus 2. So I'm hoping that this is starting to make a bit of sense, or it's starting, you can remember it from the junior cycle. So D then is here, you can see it here. So this one is the furthest part away, remembering that the key thing to remember is that this part here, the center part, the name for the center part is what we call the origin. And the origin is 0, 0. Anyway, back to D. We all know where D is. It's along the road 4, and it's up 4. Now E is next. I'm going to continue just to do them all and back from now on. E is across the road 2, and we haven't gone anywhere, so we haven't gone up or down, so it's just 0. F is along the road. We haven't gone anywhere along the road, so it's just 0, but we have gone down 2. G, we have gone along the road 2, and we haven't gone up or down, so it's 0. And then the final one we have is H, and for H we haven't gone across the road or along the road, so that stays as 0, but we have gone up 4, so we have to put that in as 4. Now that's how we write the coordinates, taking them from a coordinate plane. We need to also be able to plot coordinates on a coordinate plane. So example 2 says, plot the points S, minus 4, 2, T, 0, minus 3, and Q, 4, minus 1 on the coordinate diagram. So we have a few things. We can call it the coordinate diagram, the coordinate plane. All of those are perfectly fine. So the first one we're going to start with here is we're going to start with S. So minus 4, 2. Now remember, we go along the road and then up or down the wall. So we're going along the road minus 4, which brings us to this point here. And then we're going up 2, which will bring us to the point here. So that is point S. T then, we're going along the road first. So we actually don't go anywhere along the road because it says 0. But we are going down 3. So point T is here. And finally, we have Q. Q is the point 4 minus 1. So for 4, we go across 4. We get to here, and we're going down minus 1, so it's just to here. And we plot the point here, and that point is Q, making sure that you always put the number after when we have it plotted. So I'm hoping that that example is clear enough. So when you're doing the questions for the coordinate geometry of the line worksheet 1, you'll have things like this. So for question 1, it says write down the coordinates of each of the points marked in the coordinate plane below. So this is very similar to example number 1. And just bearing in mind when you are doing these questions, so make sure you always go across first, so either to the right or to the left, and then go up or down. So that's how we read it. So this is first, this is second. So across the x, up the y. Question 2, you're going to have to draw your own grid. So this should be easy because you have the squares in your maths copy. So it's just 1, 2, 3, 4 on each one. And that should be, if you do 4 up on each of them, you should be perfectly fine. And then you're just plotting the points exactly like I did in example number 1. That's question 1 and question 2. Question 3, so the 4 quadrants are shown below. In which quadrant does each of the following lie? So you need to figure out whether A to F, if it's in the first quadrant, the second quadrant, the third quadrant, or the fourth quadrant. So I'll do the first one for you here. So we have 3, 5. So first of all, we go across the x-axis. So it will be across towards 3, which is out here somewhere, and then up 5. Which will give us a point out here. So this is the first point. So this one is going to be in the first quadrant. And then you do the exact same for the other points, and hopefully you'll be able to figure out which quadrant each of them are in. So question 4 says, on which axis does each of these points lie? So what we have here is our coordinate plane. So here's our x-axis, here's our y-axis. So if a point lies on the x-axis, y is always going to be 0. So if a point is on the x-axis, y is equal to 0. So what we'd have is the point would look there'd be some number here, so x would have a number, but this number would always be 0. Similarly, for if a point is on the y-axis, x is going to be 0. So what we'll have here is this will be 0 and y will be some value. So which axis does each of these points lie on? So if you have the point 2, 0, well, that's going to lie on the x-axis. Similarly, if you have the point 0, 1, that's going to lie on the y-axis. So hopefully that will help you with question 4. Question 5 says write down the coordinates of the points A, B and D on the given grid. So you just copy them down what they are. And then if A, B, C, D is a rectangle, write down the coordinates of point C. So you just write down where C would be if it was going to be a rectangle. It's quite a simple question, I think. Question 6 then says draw an axis, an x and y axis from 0 to 5. So that means you have your x, y axis, and you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on each of them. So 5 little prongs on each. And then it says plot the points 2, 1, 5, 1, and 4, 5, 4. These are the 3 corners of a square. What are the coordinates of the 4th corner of the square? So it's just a little bit different than question 5, but they're both very similar. Question 7 then should be hopefully easy enough too. So part I in question 7 just says to plot the points. So making sure you draw your 2 axes and you have your x and your y, and making sure you write them in. So you plot those points, and then it says join the points together. So from the 1, -1 all the way over to the 3, -1, and to just say what type of shape or figure is formed from them. So it's not too difficult. Question 8. It says plot the following points. So again, what you're going to have to do in question 8 is plot the points, and then it says state if each set of the points is collinear. Now what collinear means is if I plot the points like this, and I have A, B, C, D and E, if I join those points together and they form a straight line, that means they're collinear. So collinear is they're going to form a straight line. That's all collinear means. So question 7 and question 8 should hopefully be fine too. So then that brings to an end the first video we have here for coordinate geometry of the line, where you're just plotting points on a coordinate plane, and you are reading points that are on a coordinate plane and saying what the coordinates are.